Hello and welcome back to the Petite Plot. This week has mainly been antiquing, looking at wallpaper samples again, and I've finally potted on all of those seedlings that were just sat on my windowsill since I think the 2nd of February, so well overdue. It's a bit of a chilly day, however, it can't be put off any longer, it has to be done. So what I'm working with here are, I do have some of the Charles Dowding pots to use. I also have some very plasticky ones that came out of a set, but they won't last too long. They're a little bit too flimsy. And I'm also going to be using just normal pots to pot on as well. My compost mix is a mix of my own compost, which was finely sieved, mixed in with coconut coir. So what I've found in the past is that my seedlings tend to get too waterlogged. I don't know whether that's me watering too much or whether it's just the composition of the soil. So I've decided the easiest thing to do is to use the lightest soil that can drain. So I start all of my seedlings off in mainly coconut coir, and then I transfer into a mix of the coconut coir with my homemade compost. And it worked well last year, so I'm hoping that I'll get the same results this year. So dampening off was my initial problem a few years ago, and I found that happened a lot using the specific seed compost. I think it was John Innes. I'm not going to use that again. I found it's very sandy, however it gets very waterlogged, especially when they're outside in the chillier weather. They don't seem to dry out enough, so I'm quite happy using a coconut coir mix. So what is it we actually have being potted on here? We've got a mix of radish. We have some spinach. There's a few different lettuce in here. We have spring onions and also some normal onions, but my germination rate on the onions wasn't brilliant. The spring onions seem to have been fine, but the normal onions have suffered a little bit. I'm burying the lettuce a bit deeper because they have gone a little bit leggy, which is fine. And I need to make room in the small greenhouse, which has these in it. These were overwintered and have not succeeded because of aphids. So they're going in the compost. But what has succeeded over winter are the spinach, and they haven't been attacked by the aphids either, so I'm going to put these out in the beds. This bed here doesn't get a huge amount of sun until much later in the year, until high summer really. So it's good for crops that don't really like too much heat, but it is protected to some degree. We've got the garage behind, we've got a tree to the right of there, so it does get protection from wind. You can see I'm using the Charles Dowding pots here. I do like them. I do find it's a lot easier to take your seedlings out once they've started growing on. And I can fit 2 of those larger seed cells into a tray with one of the smaller seed cells. So I have two of the larger ones side by side and the smaller one just fits at the end. So it works quite nicely. Whereas with pots, they're a little bit harder to concertina themselves into a little tray, and those trays fit nicely into the small greenhouse. I'm potting up the self-seeded tomatoes here. So I have no idea, they could be determinates, indeterminates, I really don't know. So they're going into the pots and I'm just going to see how they do and see what they turn out to be. So this is the mini greenhouse and there's not tons of room. However, if I work it out correctly, there should be enough room for me to have seedlings and pot on before things go out into the garden. I do overwinter some things in here, and in the depths of winter we don't get any sun here at all. But you can see there the corn salad has done really well, and I'm very aware that corn salad doesn't like the hot weather. So I do need to get those out really. They could probably go somewhere down by where the spinach is. But you can see there, two of the Charles Dowding trays fit with one of the smaller ones at the end. That works really well. And this little mini watering can works great for watering seedlings, especially when you've just sown the seeds, because it doesn't wash them all away. And those strawberries, I plan to put those out next week. They're doing very well, and they do keep trying to produce fruit, which is crazy considering the time of year. And at the time of putting these tomatoes out, the temperatures are still very low. It is not optimum temperature to put tomatoes out, but I'm giving them a chance. They decided to self-seed, so let's see what they can do. I have these pop bottles that I've cut down and use as just a little extra greenhouse really. So that might help them stave off the cold. And it can get quite toasty in here because we are starting to get sun on this mini greenhouse now. It's just for maybe a couple of hours in the morning. So I have to keep remembering, as soon as the warm weather comes, I need to go outside, open the doors and allow some airflow because it can get really hot. That's my winter lettuce there, favourite of mine. And there we go. It's a day since I put the grass clippings in the hot bin, and you can see it's gone over 20 degrees now. So let's have a look inside. We're not quite steaming up yet, but remember the temperature at the top isn't really indicative of the temperature inside. The weekend called for a trip to a fairly local antique shop. Fosseway Furniture is just on the outskirts of the Cotswolds. It's just inside the Warwickshire boundary. and it's probably about 40 minutes for us to get there. Now the aim of going to Fosseway is because we saw a table on their Instagram that could possibly go in our living room. We have 2 sofas that meet in a corner, and it leaves a big square in the corner that would fit a table nicely, a nice square table. But finding a nice square wooden, hopefully antique table is proving extremely difficult. I'm currently upstairs at Fosseway Furniture, and in each area they have like a different style of furniture, and I believe upstairs is mainly different sales outlets. So these aren't necessarily Fosseway Furniture's goods. They would have to negotiate directly with the seller if you wanted to negotiate a price. So just be aware of that if you go upstairs. But if you're looking for a dining table, honestly, there are so many. I love those doors, but I've got nowhere to put them. They'd look great in the garden. Now this was a weird thing. You wouldn't want to accidentally just slip up and fall against this, would you? Very nice though. And what I'm conscious of since filming this is that I actually see more watching it back on film than I did in person. And that's probably because there's just so much to see that you can't quite take it all in as you wander around. But looking at it on film, my eyes are wandering all over the place now, and I can see so much more. So I might need to take another trip back. This appeared to be the French area. And this was set up as a living room so that you could sort of visualise how your furniture would look if it were in your living room. See, I'm looking at all the tables. I don't want round, I want square. Round is okay, but I prefer square. I liked this little cove of furniture, and I really liked this for a kitchen. That looks amazing. If I had room, I would want to buy it, but I think it was £625, little bit too much. But some amazing furniture in here. It's a fairly large place, and there is an upstairs and a downstairs. Be aware if you do need the toilet when you go there. There is one, but it's It's a bit of a trek to get to it. It's in like an outdoor area that the guy needs to go and unlock everything for you, so try to make sure you don't need it before you go. This is the table we saw online. However, for £100, it had already been stripped, but it needed finishing, and for £100 we weren't convinced. So we looked at a couple of blanket boxes, but again, they're not really the right shape anyway. We'd prefer square. So back home and thinking about all of the jobs that need to be completed. The fountain in the back garden that's in the bird bath, that needs cleaning. So I've scheduled that in for the following week. And I'm just checking on my indoor plants. The spider plant here and the parlour palm came in a 3-pack from B&Q. So it was just it was in a paper bag, just 3 pots. And they look really good. This plant here we had upstairs in our bedroom, and I don't think it was getting enough light. And also I think the watering was too inconsistent. So we've brought it downstairs to pay a bit more attention to it. This is a replacement ivy for the one that I overwatered and killed previously. And this bamboo came from my mum's house, and it grows huge. A delivery came and I got very excited. We have just received a package. This has come from Photo War. And it's all the way from Sweden. It's the mural samples. And let's see what we have. Okay, so these are just telling you the sample quality and types that you can get. So we've got premium matte, premium satin, and a peel and stick matte. And there's the premium satin. That doesn't come out very well, but it is shiny. It's not really the sort of finish I want. I want to have a matte finish. They're good, I like that. So here are the samples. Now the difference with these is you get a close-up, so a life-size version of the pattern itself, and the miniaturized version, so you can see the entire pattern. So you can actually see how the pattern will look once it's printed out in real size. So this is the first one, Tangled Jungle, and I do very much like this one. I think that would look great. And close up, it just looks nice and clean. Yeah, I'm happy with this one. So on to number 2, which is the Romantic Tropical Forest. Now this one does have a little bird here and a couple of stalks or something down the bottom, so it does fulfill my wish to have some birds. But the close-up I'm not so keen on it. It looks a little bit sort of grainy and blurry. Not as sharp as the previous one. What are we thinking? Not so sure on that one. Let's look at sample 3. I like this one too. This is the deep tropical. And this seems to have a grain to it as well. A bit more grainy than the previous one. And so it doesn't come across as clean as the first sample. Okay, the jury is out on sample 3. I do like the overall mural image there. So there we go, the 3 samples. I'm leaning towards number 1, and I think it's because of the nice clean image. Wouldn't that look fantastic? So I'll just be working away on my computer and then I look up and I'm completely transported. These do look like bird of paradise, which is a plant I have next to my desk. We might have a winner. What do you think? It does come from Sweden. Yeah, that is bird of paradise, I'm sure it is. It does come from Sweden, so I'm not sure on transport costs when ordering, but I'll check that out. Yeah, the more I look, the more I like this. And I like the paper quality too. It feels nice. If you've ever used Photo Wall, let me know. Oh look there, it says fast and free shipping. I wonder if there's a minimum order on that. Right, I'm happy with this so far then. There we go. It's good to just sit with them in situ and just get a feel for which one suits the room best. And I'm just looking at the colours here and how well they go with the painted wall. And I think that's sealing the deal, really. This is the bird of paradise that is already in my office, which of course would go very well with the wallpaper, which has bird of paradise in it. However, I've got a bit of a concern with this plant. It's curling, and I have one that's definitely dying down there. But it's not looking as healthy as it used to. Leaves were very nice and glossy, but they're curling. I'm not quite sure what I need to do. Next day, up into the lovely sunshine, and we realise the windows need cleaning. So that's on the list for the following week. and is customary to me, I take a little tour around the garden every morning just to see how everything is doing. Check on the crops. Just make sure we've got nothing being eaten too drastically. And check on the hot bin. So this is 2 days after the hot bin being emptied and adding lots of new grass clippings. And you can see how much that has already broken down with the heat, which also means a lot of liquid will have been generated at the bottom, but that's warm in there. These flowers on the watercress are tiny. They really are tiny. And I didn't even realise that fly was sat there because that too is tiny. This is a Cerinthe. Not sure how it's said exactly, but I had to pull it up. It was outside our back door and it grew huge. A bit of a trip hazard because it was sort of lying along the floor, so I've pulled it up and that is going to go into the compost, unfortunately. And the tour continues, checking on what's growing. Snake's head fritillary is growing well, although I do wish the seeds had produced a few more this year. This is my daylily, the one on the right, and that's going really well. And it's so sunny, the first time in 2026. The line comes out and on go the bedclothes. The grass has exploded again. And so a second mow is on the cards. It's lovely to just watch the clouds go by. We have a swing seat in the corner of the garden, and I've had this, 4 years maybe? It's doing really well. The only thing that needs sorting is the cover, which has faded. It's no longer black, but we don't put that on until the weather really ramps up and we start using the seat a lot more. And now to the front garden, where I am removing a hawthorn that tried to live but just died. And that was last year. I put it in quite late on in the year. I think it was the last one available at, I bought it from Marshall's Garden. It was the last one available and it was very late in the spring season. So it was late getting it into the ground. However, I put it in and it tried to shoot towards the base, but the top just died off and it hasn't come back this year. So it's definitely gone. But in its place will be this holly, Ilex Stem. It likes full sun or part shade, and the height is up to 1.5 meters, so I'm going to keep it as a lollipop. And it's evergreen, of course, and I love to have some evergreen around because the tree line that's in front of us, everything there loses its leaves. So I like to have some evergreen in the garden. You can see the hawthorn there. Absolutely no life in it whatsoever. So first job is to dig it out. So I just need to remove the gravel from around the hawthorn because I don't want to lose too much gravel and dig it into the soil area. You can see I've edged the lawn with some bricks. These bricks are driveway bricks, so not really designed for this job, however they look great and they're quite a cheap alternative. I got them from B&Q. In the back garden we have the grey colour. In the front garden we've gone for, I think it's called Buff. But they do help neaten the lawn because the lawn was just merging into all of the stones previously and it was becoming difficult to mow without kicking stones up. This hawthorn is rather spiky, as you can see, the large spikes. So we just need to be a bit careful here. I'm not envisaging a huge root mass to come out, so I'm just going to try and dig out the original pot size and hopefully it will come out without too much argument. Well, there we go. Just to prove the point that it was totally dead, it just snapped off. So let's remove the rest of the root ball now. And then we can make it a nice little place for the holly to go in. I'm just trying to dig down deep enough here to make room for the holly, and I'm just going to add some of my coconut coir and compost mix, which I use for potting on. And the reason for adding this is because it was feeling a little bit wet down there and I don't want the holly to get too waterlogged. So I'm just going to add a bit more structure to the soil instead of just being a bit too claggy with the clay. I'll just dig that in so it mixes in nicely. It's being a little bit stubborn coming out of the pot, so I'm resorting to allowing it to lose a little bit of soil, which should be fine. And I need to use the trowel to encourage it a little bit. There we go. It's not a huge root ball considering it was a deep pot. There she is in her new home. It does say on the label that it likes full sun or part shade, grows up to 1.5 metres and flowers in spring. And as I said earlier, I will keep it as a lollipop. It does really want protection from harsh winds and freezing temperatures, but holly should be fine. And yes, we can get quite harsh winds. We get more storms these days than we ever did. Now they all have names. So we'll see how it goes. A holly should be fairly sturdy in the UK, and it should do well here. So now let's try and make this look a little bit neater here. The thing with clay is that it always does look clumpy and uninviting to the eye. So putting a little bit of my compost mix down just makes it look that little bit better. This was one of the first beautiful days where the warmth was just right. So it was quite nice to spend some time in the front garden, which does have sun for most of the day. And just appreciate flowers, the plants, and blue sky. What's very exciting about this year is this is the second year of the Magnolia Susan being in the front garden. Last year it was planted just as the flowers were dying off. So this is the first year where we're witnessing the flowers come out. And we had enough sun to keep the little solar powered fountain going in the front pond, little wildlife pond, which does need a bit of a clean. We've got a lot of leaves here that I need to fish out. And I'm noticing more and more bugs are coming out now in the nice weather. And ladybirds, which I'm very pleased about because we do suffer with the aphids. Checking on the pear tree, which was severely cut this year, it is hopefully doing well. and the climbing rose. I can't wait to show you the lovely colour of the flowers. And just to finish on, what did we actually buy from our antiquing trip? Well, my husband found this. Sometimes I wet my plants. Very apt for a lady of my age. Thanks for joining us on the Petite Plot this week. I'd love for you to subscribe and join us for the journey.